So when I was a kid, I used to love making forts, but I had to be completely alone. Like whenever my friends would say, let's make a fort, let's make a fort, I remember my excitement levels being flatlined. Like I did not at all want to make a fort. But when I was completely alone, fort making was my passion, and it was this one specific corner of my house I had growing up, and I loved it. But the best part of the fort was not the privacy, not the walls, not the making of the structure for me. It was always what stuff I brought with me into the fort. What things I thought were most important out of all my things in my room. The ones that I loved and cherished the most were coming with me into my fort, and this was like my own little play secret. I used to set up my items in like a specific uniform composition and just look at them and admire them and be like, yay, my stuff. And that was like my excitement for being in the fort. And maybe I would draw pictures in there with all my things, but the main excitement was I knew what stuff was important to me. That was my own little secret, and no one could see it because I was in my fort. When I got a little older too, I used to do this, that like I was still a kid, but I got a little older to where I wasn't making forts anymore. But I had this irrational fear, I remember, that it was an obsessive like compulsion type of thing, where I think I watched like Narnia. There was like this war that broke up in these kids' neighborhoods, and they had to leave all their things behind because their house was getting like blown up, lit on fire. So basically before bed every single night, in order to be able to fall asleep, I had to remind myself of where my favorite items were located in my room before I was able to actually fall asleep. And if I forgot where something was, I would have to look for it before I was able to like relax enough to fall asleep. And this was like somehow comforting to me. It was my own little horrific way to calm down before bed. It was like counting sheep, but instead I was like counting my items that I would take with me. And I don't know, I just always had a hold on what items were my favorite, and if I ever needed to run away, where they were, and they would fit in a compact bag. Like I always knew where they were. And then when I got to be a teenager and even into my adult years, I sometimes will find myself like looking in my bag with the same amount of like nostalgia, in the sense where I'm like, this is my stuff, no one knows what's in here but me, and that makes my own little world all cozy and comfortable, and I love these things. Yeah, my own little world inside my bag. I never use half of the things that I take with me in my bag. Like it could be a notebook, it could be lipstick that I don't even like wearing, it could be a piece of jewelry, it could be a book that I haven't even read, it could be hot sauce, it could be a notebook I haven't written in before and for some reason the pages always stay blank. It could be a sketchbook even though I know damn well I'm not gonna draw. Just like I take a lot of stuff with me, a lot, just for the sake of having it with me, but I never actually use it, and it's always just like this baggage that I take along with me that could possibly be weighing me down literally, but also spiritually. Like I think I need this stuff but I don't, and I'm taking it with me. But it is my own little secret fort, and it makes me feel like I'm back in that corner again in the middle in my house. Just like a few weeks ago, I was looking in my bag and I was like, oh, my stuff, and I thought of that little corner, and it just made me feel at peace and at home. And that's just like a very specific memory that I have. But I kind of feel like this is a universal experience with everyone's bag, like what they keep in their bag. It's so unnecessary, but yet we all do it for some reason, for one reason or the other. I also began noticing that what people bring in their bags reminds me a lot of like what a homeless person brings in their little shopping cart. Like when you see someone that seems like they might be on drugs or something, and they're just bringing around like a lot of like stinky trash, or like they're just carrying things that to the regular civilian walking by, it seems like, why would you ever need that? Like, in what world would you need to use that piece of paper that's all slimy and disgusting? Why are you holding on to those things? From the outside looking in, this homeless person with their cart seems irrational, but that's exactly what everyone does with their purse. So anyone judging someone for that, what they are bringing in their shopping cart, probably has their own version of that shopping cart in their bag or in their briefcase or whatever. And I just find that so interesting, because like, everyone's bringing around notebooks they don't use, lipstick they don't wear, just all of this stuff. The list goes on and on and on, and it's all just a bunch of baggage, like stuff that's holding us back, and like we just hold on to it for whatever reason. The word stuff, just for me, really wraps my mind around the whole concept, because no matter what it is, at the end of the day, it's still just stuff. No matter how much sentimental value you put on something, no matter how much importance you put onto an object, at the end of the day, it's still just stuff. No matter how expensive it is, no matter how much society places value onto it, at the end of the day, you're just lugging around a bunch of stuff. That's all that it is. And I've always found that so interesting, because we store it. If I think about it enough, it starts to freak me out, because I'll just look around my room and I'll just be like, why am I keeping that? Like, I can see in my closet I'm holding on to a pair of shoes that I have not worn in forever, but I'm still like, well, what if I'll want to wear them in a couple years? Or what if I regret getting rid of those? I need to hold on to them. Old documents that I probably don't even need, but I'm too stressed out to look through them. But at the end of the day, it's all just pieces of paper, and it's all junk, and it's all stuff. The homeless man's shopping cart is similar to the things we even keep in our house. Like, it goes beyond just the bag. It's like what's in our house, and what's in our drawers, and what's in our little cabinets. What are we thinking that we need this for, really? There's this family heirloom that I have, that one day when I was cleaning, I broke it. It just fell on the ground and it completely shattered. And I was so sad about it, because I really liked this dish. It was like a dish that you could hold things in, and I was really bummed. And it was something so ironic. It was like, this dish is as precious as my daughter or something. Like, I will never let it go. It's always going to be something I hold on to, just like this dish. Like, that was what the dish was supposed to symbolize. So when it broke, I was like, oh my god, like, it just felt like bad juju. So I collected all the pieces and I put them in a bag and I put them in my closet, because I was thinking that eventually I would glue them all together or try to get it fixed or whatever. And so years later, I was going through my closet, cleaning it up, and I saw this bag of shattered pieces of that heirloom. And I thought to myself, okay, Jenna, think about it. You've had this for years and you still have it. You're still lugging it around, and why do you do that? Like, it's fine, just throw it away. Like, it's time to let it go. These pieces are so small, you're not going to be able to fix it. Just throw it away. And I remember having that like conscious moment, but that was like a year ago. A couple weeks ago too, I realized that I had this idea. Like, I wanted to paint something that had this message, that had this like concept to it. So, and I got really inspired by this man, the specific shopping cart in my town, because he was just holding on to the most random things, and the shopping cart was so full, and it was like a struggle for him to transport. Like, he needed to go from point A to point B, but like he had to like make multiple trips just to get 10 feet from where he just was, you know? Like, he was lugging around all this stuff that was just like, I cannot imagine in what world he could have possibly needed that. And I got really inspired by it in a sense, because I was like, how do I do that? Like, what is something that I hold on to that could be absolutely just, there is no point in keeping this? And I had this brilliant idea to paint that family heirloom that I broke, that I was keeping in my closet, or so I thought, because I forgot that I had thrown away. So I came rushing home and I went into my closet in that drawer that I knew I was keeping it in, and I was confused because I couldn't find it. Then I start looking through my whole closet and I'm like, where did I put it? And then I remembered about a year ago, after years of holding on to it, I decided to throw it away. And I was like, oh, like for some reason that was just like the biggest amount of torture, because I was so excited to assemble all of the pieces and do like a still life of this broken family heirloom. And I was gonna talk about how, like, why do we hold on to things that clearly have no use, and that just felt perfect to me. And I wanted it to be authentic, like a real heirloom, because that just felt so full circle and like good to me. So like I didn't want to fake it. So I was just like, damn, like when I realized that I threw it away, I was seriously so butthurt and upset. I was just like, oh, I'm never throwing anything away ever again. I said to myself, I am never throwing anything away ever again. And I'm like, that is exactly what I was painting the heirloom for, is that exact concept of thinking you need something when you don't. And here I am saying, I'm never throwing anything away ever again. When we throw something away, it's always then that we need it. After you've been carrying around like an emery board forever in your bag, and you finally take it out because you're like, I never use this, so why do I keep bringing it along in my bag? And then you break a nail like a month later and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get that emery board I never used, and then you're like, damn it, I took it out. I just feel like that's so common in my life. Like I throw something away, or I get rid of something, or I take it out of my bag and then I need it. So I was trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to paint that encapsulated the same message but wasn't obviously the family heirloom, because that is long gone in the trash and gone, and I could still cry about it, but that would defeat the purpose of exactly what I'm trying to say here. That we don't need all of this stuff. It's just junk at the end of the day, that no matter how much sentimental value you put onto something, it's always going to be the same stuff. So I was out of ideas. I didn't know what to do. And then I was watching a YouTube video of, it was something, she made a video, something like, what's really in a woman's purse? And I'll put it up right here. But yes, I watched this girl on YouTube and she did a what's in my bag, and she mentioned a photographer in her video, Sergei Stroitelev. He did a whole series of photography called Russian Women's Bags from the Inside, and basically what he said was, women's handbags have always been a mystery to me. As a kid, I was convinced that my mom and her friends just had to carry around all sorts of magical items plus a couple of bricks. I thought it was the law, in case they needed to save the world or something. As a grown man, I can't really say I find purses any less puzzling. So, driven purely by curiosity, I decided to ask a bunch of women I know, as well as a few strangers I bumped into on the street, to let me photograph the contents of their bag. I spent the couple of months wandering around my hometown, St. Petersburg, asking every woman I met to show me what's in your bag. Some thought I was a mugger, some thought I was insane, and some complied. Those who consented to my request, I noticed, took great care to arrange whatever items they possessed on a black piece of cloth I carried around in my backpack before they allowed me to photograph their composition. Finally, I also asked these women to let me snap their ID photos. I felt that the combination of each portrait and the subject's personal items gives a striking first impression of who these women are. So, I basically started painting the miscellaneous junk that I have kept in my bag over the past few years that really don't serve me much of a purpose. I'm painting my own version of a Sergei Stroitelev expose of what's in a woman's bag, and painting a self-portrait with my name, occupation, and my age, so that it just really gives that striking judgmental quality of like what's in this person's bag, and just giving it the kind of like removal from the intimate like what's in her bag to more of a judgmental like striking impression of why is she keeping all of this stuff with her when it doesn't actually serve any purpose for her day-to-day. She's just taking it with her everywhere she goes, kind of vibe to it. So yes, that is what I am doing, and I've painted 3 objects. My teddy bear, $10 bill, which that does seem like something that is useful, but I just have had this same $10 bill forever. Like, I never want to use the cash that I'm holding, so I carry around cash that I never use, basically. And then I put a notebook. I've used 1 page of it, and I've had that since I was 17. So yeah, and then I'm gonna do like a self-portrait. So yeah, I just thought I would take you along with the process. And yeah, but thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you as always, as usual, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Bye guys, love you.